Beloved friends, today I want to speak to you about something that silently destroys lives, breaks families, and chains hearts, the real dangers of alcohol. Many see it as harmless, a simple drink to relax, to celebrate, or to socialize. But let me tell you, what seems harmless can quietly steal your health, your peace, and your destiny. Alcohol is not just a drink, it is a subtle thief. It begins as a temptation, something that promises joy, pleasure, or relief from the pressures of life. At first it may seem small, harmless, even fun. But just like a tiny spark can set a forest ablaze, this small indulgence can grow into a devastating force. Many have started with a drink in their hand and ended with a life in ruin. The dangers are not only physical, though they are severe. Alcohol attacks the body slowly but surely. It damages the liver, the heart, the brain, and the immune system. It steals your energy, your focus, and your ability to live fully. Diseases like cirrhosis, cancer, and neurological disorders are just the beginning. But friends, the most dangerous attacks are not just on the body. They are on your mind, your spirit, and your relationships. When alcohol takes control, it clouds judgment and diminishes wisdom. Decisions that once seemed clear become foggy. Words of love turn to words of anger. Choices meant to build life are replaced with choices that destroy. Families are torn apart, trust is shattered, and hearts are left bleeding. Children watch their parents struggle, and cycles of pain continue for generations. And let me tell you, alcohol is deceptive. It whispers lies into your heart. You need this to cope. You deserve this to relax. One more drink won't hurt. But these lies are deadly traps. The first drink may be optional, the second may be tempting, but soon it becomes a chain, a prison of dependency that is very hard to break. But there is hope. There is freedom. Every person trapped by alcohol can rise again. Strength comes from understanding the danger, from seeing it clearly, from refusing to give in to its lies. True courage is not in indulging the temptation, but in saying no, in protecting your life, your health, your mind, and your soul. Surround yourself with those who lift you, seek guidance, and remember the power of your own will to say, I will not be mastered by this. Friends, the real dangers of alcohol are not just what you see at first glance. They are hidden, creeping into your life quietly, ready to destroy if left unchecked. Protect your body, guard your heart, cherish your family, and strengthen your spirit. Say yes to life, yes to clarity, yes to freedom. And remember, every time you refuse a drink, you are not just protecting today. You are protecting your tomorrow, your destiny, and the generations that come after you. Alcohol is not just a drink, it is a subtle thief that enters quietly into the life of a person, often unnoticed until the damage has already taken root. It begins as something small, seemingly harmless, a social indulgence, a way to unwind after a long day, or a momentary escape from stress. Yet, beneath this surface of pleasure lies a silent force that slowly robs the body, the mind, and the spirit. It is a thief that steals clarity of thought, replaces wisdom with confusion, and clouds the judgment that is essential for making life-giving decisions. Many have fallen into the trap of thinking they are in control, believing that a drink here or they cannot harm them, only to wake up one day and realize that their lives are being quietly taken over, piece by piece, by a substance they once thought was harmless. This thief works not only on the surface, but digs deep into the very core of who we are. Physically, it attacks organs, weakening the liver, the heart, and the immune system, making the body more vulnerable to diseases and fatigue. It diminishes energy, dulls the senses, and interrupts the natural rhythms of life. Mentally, it impairs memory, slows reaction, and clouds the mind, making decisions that once seemed obvious suddenly confusing and unreliable. Spiritually, it steals peace, replaces joy with emptiness, and leaves the heart craving more, seeking fulfillment in a place where true satisfaction can never be found. Friends, this is why alcohol is more than a mere drink. It is a thief that robs potential, steals opportunities, and replaces dreams with regret. Many have started with the belief that they can enjoy alcohol without consequence. Yet over time, it begins to take hold, shaping habits and influencing choices that lead to destruction. Relationships that were once full of trust and love begin to fracture as anger, impatience, and disappointment take root. Words once gentle become sharp, actions once kind become reckless, and the person who drinks begins to lose sight of the very values and morals that guided them. The thief does not announce its arrival with fanfare. It slips in quietly, making friends out of temptation, disguising itself as pleasure, and convincing the heart that compromise is acceptable. One drink leads to another, one choice leads to another, and soon, what started as a small indulgence grows into a pattern, a rhythm that controls the individual rather than being controlled by them. This thief knows no boundaries, affecting young and old, rich and poor, educated and uneducated alike. It does not discriminate, and it often strikes hardest in moments when a person feels weak, stressed, or vulnerable. The danger is in the slow erosion, the incremental surrender, the subtle letting go of self-control. Each sip taken in ignorance, each moment of indulgence, allows the thief to take a little more of what is precious: health, clarity, relationships, purpose, and ultimately freedom. And yet awareness of this danger is the first step toward reclaiming life. To recognize alcohol as a subtle thief is to see the invisible chains forming before they tighten. It is to understand that true freedom requires vigilance, that every moment of choice matters, and that resisting temptation is not merely an act of willpower, but a declaration that life, body, mind, and spirit are treasures not to be surrendered to a silent destroyer. Those who open their eyes to this truth begin to see the patterns, the early warning signs, and the moments when their decisions can either give power to the thief or reclaim it for themselves. It is a call to awareness, a plea to vigilance, and a reminder that what may seem small and insignificant at first can, over time, grow into something that controls and dominates if left unchecked. Understanding this is the beginning of a journey toward clarity, strength, and the reclaiming of what alcohol seeks to steal. The physical dangers of alcohol are real, severe, and often underestimated, touching every part of the body in ways that are both immediate and long-term. When a person consumes alcohol, it enters the bloodstream and begins to affect organs almost immediately, starting with the liver, the body's natural filter and detoxifier. The liver works tirelessly to break down toxins and keep the body functioning, but alcohol overworks and damages it. Over time, this can lead to fatty liver, inflammation, scarring, and ultimately cirrhosis, a condition that slowly steals life. The heart, too, suffers under the burden of alcohol. Blood pressure rises, irregular heartbeats develop, and the risk of stroke and heart disease increases. The body's vital systems, designed to work in balance, are thrown into disarray. Alcohol also attacks the brain, dulling mental sharpness, slowing reaction times, impairing memory, and causing confusion. In more severe cases, it can permanently damage neural pathways, leaving a person unable to think clearly or control impulses, which can lead to accidents, poor decisions, and irreversible loss of cognitive function. Beyond these, alcohol weakens the immune system, making the body more susceptible to infections, illnesses, and complications that might otherwise be preventable. The stomach and digestive system are not spared. Chronic alcohol use inflames the stomach lining, leading to gastritis, ulcers, and even an increased risk of cancer. Nutritional deficiencies emerge as alcohol interferes with the absorption of essential vitamins and minerals, leaving the body depleted and vulnerable. Every organ and system is affected in some way, from the kidneys that filter blood to the lungs that supply oxygen, as alcohol disrupts normal functioning and strains the body's ability to maintain balance. And the damage is cumulative, building silently with each drink, often unnoticed until it becomes life-threatening. It is not only heavy or frequent drinkers who are at risk. Even moderate consumption over time can erode health, weaken the body's defenses, and shorten lifespan. But the dangers do not stop at physical illness. Alcohol affects energy, vitality, and the capacity to live fully. A person under the influence feels sluggish, unmotivated, and disconnected from their potential. Sleep is disrupted, leaving the body unable to repair itself properly, and chronic fatigue sets in. Mental health is deeply impacted as well, with depression, anxiety, and mood disorders often exacerbated by alcohol's interference with the brain's chemical balance. What is particularly dangerous is the cycle that forms as health declines, energy fades, and mood worsens. The person may turn to alcohol for temporary relief, not realizing that it only intensifies the problem. Over time, alcohol does not just weaken the body, it reshapes it, altering its chemistry, metabolism, and natural rhythms. Vital organs slow down, bodily defenses weaken, and resilience fades. Even the immune system, which protects life, becomes less effective, leaving the body open to infections that may have been easily fought off in a healthy state. Friends, it is crucial to understand that alcohol's physical dangers are not distant or hypothetical. They begin from the very first sip, accumulating quietly and striking with devastating impact over months and years. Every choice to drink brings a subtle erosion of health, a quiet weakening of the systems that sustain life, and a risk that grows steadily, often unseen, until the consequences are severe. Those who wish to preserve their strength, vitality, and the fullness of life must see alcohol not as a harmless indulgence, but as a serious threat to the body, a slow-moving force that attacks liver, heart, brain, and immune system while diminishing energy, clarity, and resilience, reminding us that true freedom and life-giving health require vigilance, care, and the courage to refuse what brings harm. Alcohol does not only affect the body, it strikes at the heart of relationships, at the bonds that hold families, friendships, and communities together. Its dangers are deeply social and emotional, thoughts often hidden beneath the false promise of joy and relaxation. When a person drinks, even in moderation, the mind becomes clouded, judgment is impaired, and the ability to respond with patience, wisdom, and love diminishes. Words that once comforted may turn sharp and cutting. Actions that were once thoughtful and caring may become careless, reckless, or hurtful. Families often bear the heaviest burden. As trust is broken, arguments escalate, and love is tested by behavior that alcohol provokes. Parents who drink may find themselves losing authority and respect in the eyes of their children. Children absorb, and are affected deeply by the example set before them, and patterns of dysfunction and instability often repeat across generations. Friendships can falter when alcohol causes irresponsibility, betrayal, or a lack of accountability. Colleagues may lose trust in a person whose actions are unpredictable or impaired by drinking. Communities, too, feel the impact as accidents, disputes, and social unrest can rise when alcohol is misused. The danger of alcohol in relationships is insidious because it begins subtly with small acts of irresponsibility or carelessness that seem insignificant at first but grow over time into habits that fracture connections. Emotional intimacy suffers because alcohol encourages avoidance rather than honest communication, offering temporary escape instead of addressing conflict, stress, or unmet needs. It creates a false sense of confidence or courage, pushing people into situations where they speak or act without regard for consequences. The heart becomes numb to the feelings of others, empathy is dulled, and the ability to maintain meaningful, healthy relationships weakens. Alcohol also heightens vulnerability to negative emotions, fear, anger, sadness, or frustration that might have been managed with reflection and self-control often erupts uncontrollably under its influence, causing harm to those we care about most. Marriages and partnerships are particularly at risk as financial irresponsibility, neglect, or infidelity can follow the patterns set by drinking. Even when alcohol is consumed socially, the long-term effects on relationships are profound as dependency grows, priorities shift, and emotional availability diminishes. Furthermore, alcohol can isolate a person from the very people who could support them, creating a cycle of loneliness and reliance on a substance that promises comfort but delivers distance and disruption. Social bonds are replaced by temporary pleasure, genuine connection is replaced by fleeting intoxication, and love, trust, and loyalty are tested constantly. The consequences often extend beyond the immediate circle, affecting co-workers, neighbors, and society at large. Accidents, conflicts, and irresponsibility caused by drinking ripple outward, touching lives in ways that are rarely fully understood until damage has occurred. Friends, the social dangers of alcohol are not just about conflict or discomfort. They strike at the very essence of human connection, threatening trust, intimacy, and the ability to nurture relationships that sustain and uplift. To recognize this is to understand that alcohol's impact is far greater than personal indulgence. It has the power to weaken families, fracture friendships, and erode the social fabric that supports meaningful life. Every drink taken carelessly carries the risk of damaging the people we love most, of creating tension, heartbreak, and division where there could have been harmony, understanding, and joy. The call is clear: to protect our relationships, to preserve trust, and to nurture the bonds that give life its meaning. We must see alcohol for what it truly is: a subtle, destructive force that clouds judgment, diminishes empathy, and endangers the connections that matter most, reminding us that the health of our relationships is inseparable from the choices we make regarding this powerful and deceptive substance. Alcohol is deceptive. It hides its true nature behind a mask of pleasure, relaxation, and celebration, whispering lies into the hearts of those who consume it. It promises relief from stress, comfort in loneliness, confidence in social situations, and escape from the burdens of life. Yet these promises are false, temporary, and dangerous, because alcohol does not solve problems. It magnifies them, it creates new ones, and it subtly changes the person who relies on it. The first lie is that alcohol is harmless in moderation. While one drink may seem innocent, it is a foot in the door for dependency, a small surrender of control that can grow into patterns difficult to break. The second lie is that alcohol relieves pain. Pain may feel numb for a moment, worries may seem distant, and emotions may appear lighter. But these effects are fleeting. The underlying issues remain, often intensifying because the body and mind are weakened, and the person becomes less capable of facing challenges with clarity and strength. The third lie is that alcohol brings confidence and courage. It may lower inhibitions temporarily, making a person feel bold or fearless, but this courage is artificial. Decisions made under its influence are often reckless, relationships are jeopardized, and opportunities can be lost because actions taken while intoxicated rarely reflect true wisdom or discernment. The fourth lie is that alcohol is a friend in times of stress or loneliness. True friendship provides support, guidance, and love. Alcohol provides temporary escape and long-term dependency. It isolates rather than connects, numbs rather than heals, and leaves the person craving more of a substance that cannot satisfy the deepest needs of the heart. This deception is powerful because it is subtle. Alcohol does not announce itself as a danger at first. It begins with small indulgences, casual social drinking, or occasional stress relief. Over time, the mind becomes conditioned to seek the comfort it provides, and the person begins to rely on it to navigate life. Dependency is rarely dramatic in its early stages. It creeps quietly, shaping routines, influencing choices, and weakening the ability to resist temptation. The consequences, however, are severe. Physical health deteriorates, mental clarity fades, relationships strain under the weight of poor decisions, and emotional volatility and spiritual well-being suffers because the heart is not free. The lies of alcohol also encourage rationalization. A person may say, "I can stop anytime," or "I only drink socially." But these statements ignore the subtle erosion of control that has already begun. Denial becomes a shield, and the thief works quietly behind the scenes, God's gaining more influence with every unrecognized pattern, every justified indulgence, every time the heart is convinced that temporary pleasure outweighs long-term consequences. Friends, the danger of alcohol lies not only in what it does openly, but in what it hides, in the way it convinces the mind and heart that compromise is acceptable, that control is in hand, and that surrendering small moments of judgment carries no cost. Awareness of these lies is the first step toward freedom. To see alcohol as deceptive is to recognize the power it holds, to refuse its false promises, and to reclaim the life that it seeks to control. True courage lies in understanding the danger, in facing it honestly, and in making the choice to say no. The call is to protect your mind, your body, your relationships, and your destiny by refusing to be fooled by what seems pleasurable but is ultimately harmful. To replace the false comfort it offers with strength, clarity, and wisdom, and to live a life that is not shaped by deceit, but guided by truth, discipline, and the pursuit of what truly sustains and nourishes the heart, mind, and spirit. True freedom comes from awareness, courage, and choosing life over addiction. To live freely is to recognize the chains that threaten to bind us before they tighten, to see clearly the dangers that alcohol presents, and to refuse its false promises. Freedom is not merely the absence of restraint, it is the presence of strength, wisdom, and self-mastery. It begins in the mind, where awareness grows. To be aware is to understand that alcohol is not just a harmless indulgence or a simple pleasure. It is a force that slowly erodes clarity, judgment, and control, while quietly influencing decisions, weakening relationships, and diminishing health. Awareness is the light that exposes the subtle ways in which alcohol can invade life, shaping habits and patterns without permission. Once a person becomes aware, the next step is courage. Courage is the ability to face temptation head on, to resist the immediate allure of temporary comfort, and to stand firm in the choices that protect life, health, and integrity. Courage is not the absence of desire, it is the mastery of desire, the refusal to surrender to what promises relief but delivers harm. Every time a person chooses not to drink in the face of social pressure, stress, or boredom, they exercise courage. Every moment of saying no builds strength, reinforces self-control, and strengthens character. Courage grows when it is practiced consistently, when the mind and spirit commit to truth over deception, health over indulgence, and life over destruction. Choosing life over addiction is the ultimate act of freedom. Addiction is not just a habit, it is a force that gradually takes control, shaping priorities, influencing decisions, and dominating thoughts. Choosing life means refusing to hand over this control, reclaiming the body, mind, and spirit from the grasp of alcohol. It is a commitment to living fully, to engaging with life in clarity and purpose, to nurturing relationships with honesty, empathy, and care, and to protecting the health and vitality that allow one to pursue dreams and fulfill potential. Choosing life also involves recognizing the long-term consequences of actions. Every drink avoided is a moment of victory, a step toward preserving strength, protecting relationships, and maintaining integrity. It is a declaration that life, health, and destiny are worth safeguarding, that temporary pleasure cannot outweigh permanent damage, and that self-respect and responsibility are non-negotiable. True freedom also requires support. It is strengthened by surrounding oneself with people who encourage life, affirming choices, who model discipline and integrity, and who provide guidance in moments of temptation or weakness. Support creates an environment where courage can thrive, awareness can deepen, and commitment to life can be maintained even when challenges arise. Freedom is reinforced when a person replaces the void that alcohol seeks to fill with purpose, passion, and meaningful connection, by engaging in activities that nourish the mind, body, and spirit, by cultivating habits that enhance rather than diminish health, and by fostering relationships built on trust and respect. The person who chooses life over addiction builds a foundation that alcohol cannot shake. Ultimately, the pursuit of freedom is a daily choice, a continual act of awareness, courage, and commitment to life. Each decision to resist, each moment of discipline, and each embrace of what truly sustains and enriches life strengthens the spirit and affirms the value of the body, mind, and relationships. This freedom is not given, it is claimed through intentional action, guided by wisdom, strengthened by courage, and anchored in the understanding that life is precious, fleeting, and worth defending against forces that seek to destroy it. Those who embrace this path experience the profound difference between temporary escape and lasting vitality, between deception and truth, between the subtle chains of alcohol and the powerful liberation that comes from living fully, deliberately, and consciously in a way that honors every gift of life and preserves the integrity of the heart, mind, and spirit.